Any country that is predominantly Islamic, there is no freedom of religion. Christians, Jews are persecuted.
IslamNet is raising funds to establish a masjid and community centre in Norway, and they urgently need your support. This donation will be a sadaqah jariyah for you, because every person that comes a step closer to Allah through your donation, you will inshallah be reaping the reward. Click the link and donate what you can.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and dear friends. Hope you guys are well, inshallah. We are going to be reacting with Muhammad Hijab. The champ is back in the building as usual. And mashallah, you don't need to say, you don't even need to do that. You don't need to do none of that. You just looking at you, we know what time it is. Alhamdulillah. Okay, you need to be careful. You need to be angry today. You need to watch yourself. And I think something that's going to put hijab in that refutation mood is the following video. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Do you know this guy?
No.
Not that you need to. No. There's nothing to know about him anyways. Yeah, something Robinson. Yeah? Okay. It might be Tommy Robinson's brother with the stuff that he says. But here we go.
By this, any country that is predominantly Islamic, there is no freedom of religion. Christians, Jews are persecuted. But any Christian country, people have freedom to worship whatever God or...
Is that a good trait to have, or is this weakness?
Yes. If we want to have freedom comes
It's
from
got to be,
Christianity.
yeah.
Islam does not provide freedom. And like I say, you can't have a neutral. There has to be a faith. And if there isn't one, something else steps in, like wokeness.
If you go to Israel and the way the Palestinians are being treated, that is not freedom, would you say?
What do you mean the way they're being treated?
You know, they're secluded, aren't they? They're saying they're being prosecuted for their religion, really.
No, the problem, I mean, this is going to be controversial.
It's going to be come on,
The problem
Carl.
there is that's a majority Islamic area, part of the world, right? There's only one country in that whole area where people are free. That is Israel, and they don't like it, and they don't like Israel for it. So they want to destroy it. One of those countries in that area, would you have to go and live in one of them? Which one would it be?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. Would you go and live in Israel?
Yeah, I moved to Tel Aviv or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Sounds quite good.
There's only one country in that whole of the Middle East that I would live in.
Sorry, I thought you was excluding Israel and making me have to go to another one. Yeah, no, it would be Israel. Of course it would.
And that's why they hate it.
So, in a nutshell, what do you make of this? Some speculations. I find it very interesting that towards the end, I find anybody who is unjust towards any kind of faith it may be, but specifically towards Islam, you can see that he totally dismisses what the Palestinians are going through. And bear in mind, there are Palestinian Christians who have been spat at, who have been kicked out of their houses. And he is there vocalizing that he would want to go and live there. Yeah, these people would be spitting at you, and because you're a priest, by the way, or a pastor, wherever you are. Point that to a side. Is this historically correct? That, number one, Christians and Jews had no kind of freedom, that Islam is forced. What do you make out of it?
Well, I mean, the thing is, if this can be a historical discussion or it can be a contemporaneous one, where one looks at kind of like the Muslim countries and stuff like that, and looks at the Christian countries with Muslim minorities and vice versa, and does a comparison. Obviously, one has to have a definition of what they mean by tolerance. But if we're talking generally about someone being able to, which it seems like he is talking about, practice their religion, then we go back to the facts. That there has been some of the most abominable and condemnable acts in human history where the opposite is happening. In other words, where Christians have minorities and that they are slaughtered, that they are oppressed to a point where there's almost historical, if not, there is historical consensus of the matter. And this started from the very beginnings of first centuries of Christianity. For example, when Constantine himself made Christianity the religion, the state religion in the 4th century, and then Theodosius II actually encroached by putting some laws, some persecutory laws in place. So that if anyone doesn't even just abide by certain tenets of Christianity, those individuals will be prosecuted. Then you have many, many examples in the upcoming centuries. Prominent ones, of course, are the Crusades. What happened with Richard, the so-called Lionheart, coming in, and historians talk about blood reaching the knees of people, slaughtering men, women, and children. And then you have, of course, the Spanish Inquisition, which is one of the most violent events in human history, especially to Jewish people when he talks about Jewish people.
Ferdinand, was it?
I mean, we're talking here around the time of what is referred to as the Reconquista, so about 1492. And so this is a time where, actually, ironically, Jewish people were moving to Muslim lands, in the Ottoman Empire in particular, to seek safe haven from the persecution of the Christians. So these are some examples. Now, obviously, one can counter and say, well, what about the Muwahhidun? What about this? What about that? We're not saying that.
Exceptions to the rule.
We're not saying that Muslim dynasties and countries have always been tolerant to themselves and Muslim sects and other sects, but we're saying that this crass and hyper generalization, it's not an academic way of dealing with the matter. So that's the first thing. You can look at it historically. And then if you're talking about contemporaneously, then the question, first of all, is what constitutes as a Muslim country? We're talking about Muslim Islamic governance, because of the 60 Muslim majority countries in terms of demographics, how many of them are claiming to rule by Qur'an and Sunnah or the Sharia and so on? You'll find that it's not even a handful of those countries, maybe 5 if you're lucky, 6. That's not even 10% of the total number. But if we're talking about 60 countries or 59 countries out of 196 countries, those countries that have minorities in them.
Yes.
So let's take a look at the treatment, for example, of Christians in Lebanon, or let's take a look at the treatment of Christians in Egypt, where I am originally from. Anyone goes to Egypt and speaks to the Christians in Egypt and sees what kind of life they're living. It's very, very difficult to make a case of oppression or persecution. Persecution is almost it's almost an impossible case.
The Christians,
for sure. I mean, they're given extra provision. This is very well known, and everyone knows that they're given extra provision and have been for a very, very long time, actually. And Egypt as a whole, as a country, historically, even Thomas Walker Arnold, who wrote The Preaching of Islam, he's an Orientalist, and the book was published first, I think, in late 1800s, something like that. He's an Orientalist, and he says when Islam spread to Egypt and spread to other countries, and Umar ibn Khattab spread Islam to Jerusalem, he made the point that actually there was tolerance, they were allowed to practice their religion. So this is spanning across the whole time. And the fact that that is the case is the existence of the Coptic Christians there in the first place. I mean, if Islam was completely intolerant to these people, why are they existing in a Muslim majority country for 1,400 years of Islamic rule and or majority population? So the case is really incoherent. And for him to say that Christianity has produced something, either contemporaneously or historically, which it hasn't, comparative to Islam, is a false argument. I don't think he's going to be able to substantiate this. He would have to write something peer-reviewed, and then the academics would have to laugh at it. They would have to laugh at it. I mean, honestly, I mean, this man is not making a convincing case at all.
It's a joke, man. And Allah says in the Qur'an very clearly that there is no compulsion in religion. Yes. You know, in the Surah Baqarah, it's very, very clear. And the funny thing is this, I'll ask a very simple question to this man, is that have you ever lived in Islamic lands? Have you lived under the Caliphate, which obviously you wouldn't at this time? Well, let's look at some people who have lived under the Caliphate. Let's see what they had to say, because you have no damn experience. You have never lived. So let's look at people in history who did live there. So we have the chief rabbi of Edirne, which he said, here in the land of the Turks, we have nothing to complain of. We possess great fortunes, much gold and silver in our hands. We are not oppressed with heavy taxes, and our commerce is free and unhindered. Rich are the fruits of the earth. Everything is cheap, and every one of us live in peace and freedom. Here the Jews are not compelled to wear a yellow hat as a badge of shame, as this is the case in Germany. And that goes on. So for example, let's go to, we've got a few more here. We've got Jews felt equally safe in Jerusalem, as confirmed by 9th century Jewish source Sefer Pitron Torah. And this is what he said. The people in whose hands the temple is today, namely the Muslims, have made it into a choice, excellent and honorable place of worship. They say, let us worship the one God who created the heavens and the earth, to whom the creatures belong until cometh of the Messiah. And on that day, the true worship will be renewed, and we will accept that before God. Let's go to, for example, Bernard the Wise, a pilgrim monk, visited Egypt and Palestine in the reign of Khalif in 865. He stated the following: the Christian and the pagans, he referred to the Muslims as pagans, that's how he saw this, So he said the Christians and the Muslims have this kind of peace between them, that if I was going on a journey and on the way my camel or donkey which bore my luggage were todded, meaning like maybe lost, and I was abundant of all my goods without any guardian, and I go to the city for another pack of animal, when I came back I would find all my property uninjured. Such is the peace there. And look, there's
I like this point you just made, the final point, because actually the golden age of Islam, this obviously is the Abbasid period. Mu'tasim is one of the Abbasid caliphs, and in the golden age of Islam, some of the greatest names in, for example, Islamic, Jewish and Christian history existed in Islamic rule. So for example, the most prominent Jewish example is Maimonides, which is he wrote very many books, Dala'il al-Ha'irin, he actually wrote in Arabic, funny enough. It's called The Guide of the Perplexed. It's one of the most well-known works.
Is he seen as the second Moses of...
second Moses. So, I mean, he's good. I mean, this is one great example of, he's seen as one of the biggest name in Judaism. And he existed in the time, or in Spanish Muslim lands at that time. So here's one example. In the translation movement, a lot of the people who were Christian Arabs at the time, they were allowed to produce works in the Abbasid periods. They were allowed to produce works. They were fraternizing.
They had high rank positions in the government.
Absolutely. I mean, all of these kind of things. So this is a very difficult case to make for him. Once again, I think it's either you just want to make a statement that gets you. Maybe you're just an ignorant person.
No. I think he just has a lot of hatred. I think he just has a lot of hatred. I'll be honest with you. His name ends with Robinson, and he speaks like Tommy Robinson, for that matter. Just finishing on this.
Tommy Robinson actually makes a more compelling case.
Yeah, you can say. Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, and now just another Jewish person, Sammy Cohen. He said, "We want to send the world a message that we have been living here peacefully for centuries, while other Jewish communities have suffered in many lands of Europe. You Christians have been the ones that have been persecuting the Jewish people for years on end because you deem that they killed your God." Look, there's many examples that I can give in history. Yeah, the matter's clear. Number one, to not even know the basic principle in Islam that there is no compulsion in religion it just shows me what kind of an ignoramus
he is.
Slabberdagallian.
Yeah, he is a
pusillanimous.
Yes, he is.
Is there any other word that we can't in?
Oh, so many, but
please give me this honor.
Suffice it to say.
Look, let me tell you something. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I wish you had more intellect as big as your hair. Okay. It seems like
I had a hairstyle like that. But it looked good on me.
But you had intellect here and there.
The brains was there.
Yeah, exactly.
And the hair was there as well.
Exactly. He just got the hair. Okay. I wish as much as hair you had intellect inside your brain, inside your head rather than outside of it. Yeah. But that's what it is. I think that's it. I don't think nothing else to be said. It just shows that he's intellectually corrupt, bankrupt, and molested. I think I'm going to end on that note. Hijab, it's a pleasure as always.
Thank you very much.
May Allah bless you, inshallah.
Fantastic.
Brothers and sisters, please send this video to this man directly from me, inshallah.
He doesn't need to see it. I mean,
He will see it.
who is he anyway?
He's a nobody.
If he sees it, if he doesn't, let me ask a question before we end this one. Okay. If he sees it, if he doesn't see it, think about this. I mean, if he sees it, if he doesn't see it, if he's happy, if he's sad. Listen, if he's over the earth, if he's under the earth, what difference will it make to humanity?
I can give this example.
If he's over the earth,
I can give this example.
If he's under the earth,
it's like
what difference will it make to humanity?
It's like my good friend Zishan passing wind. It has no.
Listen,
it just doesn't have no impact. It was just wind. He just do this, and you carry on your day.
Hand wave it.
Inshallah. Till next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.